Good evening and welcome to Be Extraordinary, the podcast that is all about you. I'm so happy that you're here this evening with us in studio, and you have to encourage yourself sometimes. And I know you had to encourage yourself to be part of the show this evening, so we're glad that you had the opportunity to do just that. This show is going to be a very special show. It's our last series in the COVID-19 presses of the pandemic. So we want to thank Horizon Blue Cross and Blue Shield for having the vision and foresight to encourage themselves and encourage other people to take care of themselves in the midst of the COVID-19. I am your host, Joetta. I'm a four-time Olympian, motivational speaker, author, entrepreneur, and I'm just so very excited to have the opportunity to be the co-host of the show. And actually, I said co-host. I'm a host, and I have a co-host who you see on the screen. Our co-host is Tyrone Johnson. He is a retired firefighter, retired from the city of Newark after 25 years of fighting fires. He's also was a first responder. He's a mental health consultant, and also he's a U.S. national recognized high school coach. So Tyrone, it's good to be in the studio today. We haven't been in the studio in the past, but the last 4 weeks we've been here, so it's good to be in the studio.
Hey, Joe. Nice to see you again.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you again at this evening hour. 5:30 is a little tricky sometimes. You know, people are trying to get home. They're getting off work, making dinner. So thank you for sharing this 1 hour with us. Like Joetta just said, this is our last series on COVID, which is not going to be the last in the series of our situation we're in, because right now COVID is still around us, in every city, every state, in every country. So right now I just want everybody to realize that although we're making it through COVID, and I'm vaccinated right now, and I pray every day that all my friends are healthy, just be have a mindset of when it's time for you to get vaccinated, or if you're going to get vaccinated, just want to be safe, because you don't want to spread anything to your loved ones. Even though I'm vaccinated, I still wear masks every day in every single building. And they say right now, I think New Jersey opened up with no masks outside. In certain buildings you can not wear masks. And right now I'm still masked up. But right now, since me and Joe are masked, I'm vaccinated, I'm not wearing a mask.
Well, that's a good thing. Everybody can see your face and see mine as well. The next face that you will see will be our guest. Her name is Yvette Alvarez. And Yvette Alvarez is a community health educator consultant with the Department of Membership Advocacy and Community Outreach Transformation with Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey. Yvette has dedicated her career to serving and enriching the community and Horizon members to achieve their best health through education, health, and wellness. Yvette received a master's in biomedical science from the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey in 2011 and a master's in public health in 2013. Yvette joined Horizon Blue Cross and Blue Shield of New Jersey in 2017 with the Department of Member Advocacy and Community Outreach Transformation team. She currently serves as a community health education consultant, where she continues to develop and deliver programs to reinforce Horizon's message and focuses on cultivating partnerships throughout the state of New Jersey. That was a mouthful about Yvette, and we're going to hear some more from her. But before we have her face grace this podcast, we're going to show a slide, because Horizon Blue Cross and Blue Shield is here when you need them most.
Now more than ever, we're here for our members. We're working hard to make changes that can help keep your family safe. Now more of your costs are covered, so you can get the care you need. We've made it easier to talk to doctors and nurses without leaving home, and those costs are now covered too. So much is changing right now. What isn't changing is our commitment to you, your family, and your health. Here when you need us most, now and always.
Wow, thank you for sharing that, Yvette, and welcome to our program called Be extraordinary. And I know you have a lot of information for us, and we can't wait to hear what you have to say. Before we continue with the format, I want everyone to know that there's a process. If you have a question at the end of each segment, we have 3 segments: shutdown, stress, and solutions. And each segment is 20 minutes. And if you have a question at the end of the segment, all you have to do is raise your hand. And if you don't know how to do that, put your question in the chat, and we will make sure that you get the opportunity to speak to Yvette. So Yvette, welcome to Be Extraordinary. And we're just going to step right on in with some questions for you. How is that this evening? How are you doing?
Good. Thank you, Joetta. Thank you, Tyrone. Great introduction. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you.
So as your sign behind you says, let's talk health. Let's go.
Yes, let's get started.
Yes.
Okay, Yvette, I'm going to ask you the first question, and it's about the shutdown. And how did Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield stay connected to the community during the crisis?
Yeah, so, like most organizations, Horizon transitioned to a work from home model. But what was really key is communication and staying connected to our community partners. It was the key component to ensuring that all communities had access to resources to maintain and manage their physical and mental health. So it wasn't only for our members, but for everyone, especially those who had an increased risk for COVID-19. As we now know, those included the elderly, anyone managing chronic diseases like diabetes, hypertension, cancer, and specifically the medically fragile population. We encouraged our partners to voice their concerns that their community was having, because they were sort of the gatekeepers, right? For us. They were connected directly to the community. So what we did was we reached out to them regularly. We shared important information that they then passed along to their clients, and reminding them that just like before, we were here and available to assist them through these very difficult times.
Yes, I think that a lot of times people don't understand how long the shutdown lasted, but what people went through during the shutdown. And I always said that even during the shutdown period, it was important not to shut down on yourself. So I think that Horizon provided the opportunity for people to go and speak to them, but also to keep them alive and not shutting down completely on themselves. So that was really important.
So, Yvette, I just have a quick question. If a senior citizen or elderly or somebody that was disabled are living alone, and because of COVID, no family member, no contact, would you still be able to contact that person via phone, text, email, or knock at the door with a mask?
Are you referring to during the pandemic, you mean?
Yes, as soon as it
started?
Everything was down.
Yeah, so that was really important for us. So especially our members who are connected to case managers, which is a department within Horizon that is closely connected with those members who have certain challenges, who are managing multiple comorbidities, a lot of health issues and concerns, especially that senior population. Yes. And as I mentioned, even though we transitioned to a work from home, we were still staying connected, not only with our community partners, but our members as well, because we know that those were very vulnerable populations. And, initially they connected with them through any way they could. We encouraged not only our members, but their family members, because in some cases, many of them have kind of a second contact, right, to reach out to in case they need to connect with the individual.
I think that's important also. We always say teamwork makes the dream work, and you keep mentioning partners. So could you tell us some of the partners that you helped to work through the shutdown period with your members?
Sure. So we work with a variety of different community partners, family success centers, with different healthcare providers, faith-based organizations. We have many different collaborations because we know that that's key, right? They are important. They help keep us connected and informed with what's going on directly in the community. We are a small staff, and so we can't be everywhere all the time.
Yes.
By fostering these relationships with our partners, that's how we learned what was important and what was in need for their communities in order to get through the difficult time.
And I guess during the shutdown period, you provided your members with tools for them to be their best self. So as your sign says, tools to be your best you. So what were some of those tools that you provided during the shutdown period to help people try to, work through the web and be their best self?
Yeah, so, during the shutdown, a lot of the community and the public, they look towards those organizations, our community organizations, for resources and information. And our partners played a key role providing a virtual meeting space for Horizon to be able to speak with the community directly. And it was during these times that we shared important health and hygiene information that benefited their well-being. We reminded the community to ask for medical attention from their healthcare providers when necessary, and inform them of the different options to link up with providers, specifically through telehealth services, right? A lot of people were not aware or how to access telehealth. So we reminded them, right? Don't miss out or don't skip seeing your provider if you really need it. Because there are options, there are different ways to connecting with providers that kept you safe in your own home, but you can connect the way we're connecting here today, right? Either through a computer or just telephonically. Also, I do want to mention that, during this time, we were aware people were feeling overwhelmed. They were alone. So in collaboration with our community partners, we shared ideas on how to relieve some of that anxiety and stress. For example, we held virtual cooking events that were lighthearted and informative.
Yes.
That allowed for people to engage and ask questions, kind of a way for them to build their own community. And one of the best things about that was we had people joining in from all over the state, not just one location. They were able to share their concerns, gain information about the resources, and of course, the ever-changing CDC guidelines around COVID-19 that were occurring right within their community. So.
And I guess you were not able to shut down, even though you may want to, because you were probably being overwhelmed. But you talk about things changing. How were you made aware of all of these changes during the shutdown? Was that something that you spoke with your team, or were you leading that?
Yeah, so our department, the Department of Member Advocacy and Community Outreach, have a great connection of communication. So, we, like I said, for us, it felt almost like, it was just another work day, but absolutely, we had a lot of incoming calls and emails, trying to support our partners as well as each other, because nobody really knew what was going on, right? And so when you are in that situation, when you're not sure what's happening, it almost feels like a sense of panic, right? But we were confident that we were going to be able to support each other and get through this.
Well, that's so important. I think right now, do you have any questions that you want to ask? Do we have any questions?
Anybody have a question?
Remember, if you have a question, you put your hand up, you can raise your hand, or you can put your question in the chat box. And while you're doing that, this is a great opportunity for us to pause for the cause. Today is my mother's, Joetta M. Clark, the late Joetta M. Clark. It's her birthday.
Aww.
So I say happy birthday to my mother, who's no longer here on earth, but she's an angel. Looking down at us, she passed March 13th, 2020. So today is her birthday, so I just wanted to share that with you. Her name is Joetta M. Clark, and happy birthday to my mom. So that's the pause for the cause.
Good job.
Does anyone have a question? Did we have any questions?
Yes. Let me see what this is.
Hi, good evening, Joetta and Tyrone. I have a quick question for Yvette. This is Iris Novascuni. So Yvette, during the early stages of the pandemic, how was your team able to talk about like how to access the coverage that they needed and reconnect with their doctors, especially if they weren't used to not seeing their doctors in their physical clinical space? Like, how did you guys educate the community around a virtual use of medical services?
Yeah, so we utilize, thank you for that question, Iris. We utilize all the resources that we had on hand. So our team, the Department of Member Advocacy and Community Outreach, consists of community health representatives, health educators such as myself, as well as a community health nurse. So we leveraged everyone to be able to connect with our community partners. We let them know that, it's important for us or for our community partners to let us know what they needed so that we can collaborate bringing them those resources. And as I mentioned before, they provided a virtual platform for us to be able to connect with the community at large, and we guided them. It was a team effort to be able to guide them into how they could, our community health reps were able to show them how to apply for Medicaid if needed. We provided them with our contact information in case that they had questions about their benefits, how they could access them. And then again, as I said, making sure that we connected those members that needed to case management, if they had difficulty or challenges finding providers or managing their own health issues, as well as letting them know that they can connect with their providers through telehealth by calling their providers up, asking them what other options they had to get care aside from going into the office, because many people were scared, right?
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. And you said something about staying connected. So we have a slide that we're going to put up so people can stay connected with you and how they can contact Horizon Blue Cross and Blue Shield of New Jersey. If you could just briefly touch on each point before we go to our next segment.
Sure. So I encourage everyone, members to connect at the horizonnjhealth.com. There's a member portal you can sign up at. You can find providers there. You can, if you have questions as a member, you can also email hnjhanswers@horizonnjhealth.com. Of course, social media is always big. We encourage you to like us, follow us on Facebook as well as Twitter. But also feel free to connect with me if you have any questions about anything that we're discussing today, or you have questions as a member, or even not, even, being in the community. If you would like to connect with me, you can connect with me by telephone or email.
Thank you for sharing that. And we can put this up again if for those of you who missed that information. So right now, the time goes by really fast, and we're in that next segment, which is the stress segment. But before we go to our stress segment, we just want to show you a slide on Miles. And Horizon Blue Cross and Blue Shield, you've done a really great job of keeping the community safe and doing great videos such as this one.
I'm Miles, and this is what I work for. To be my best for them and for me, in body and in mind. I need a health insurer that helps me get the care I need for both, that has mental health professionals that I can talk to when I need to, because when I feel strong and secure, so do they. This is my life, and this is how Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey works for me.
Wow, that's a really nice commercial. And as you always say, you're here when we need you most. And so often people did not know how to reach out, how to deal with stress. As a four-time Olympian, I've dealt with stress my entire life. As a person, I've dealt with stress, and sometimes I do better in situations than not. But I've never really had to deal with a stressful situation that was life changing, except once I had a major car accident. But usually a track and field meet or a business situation, you could meander through that. But when it comes to your health, it's important to have some techniques for you to get through the stressful period. So we have some questions for you on stress. And remember, if you have questions for Yvette, to remember to get them formulated so we can ask them at the end of the session.
Okay, Yvette, on the stress topic, what role did Horizon play to meet the needs and emotional well-being of your members and the community that were affected?
Yeah, so as I have said, our relationships with our partners were really key because they provided us a platform to be able to connect with with our members as well as the community. And through these virtual platforms, we had a number of workshops that dealing with stress management and how to cope with the pandemic. We knew that these were really important topics to discuss with our members, with the community, because stress really impacts our health in ways that people don't even realize. Unfortunately, it's like mental health, right? Where a lot of times people don't seek care because it's almost like an injury you can't see. And so by having these virtual workshops, we provided individuals with information on how to cope with stress, things like deep breathing exercise, physical activity. Of course, many times we turn to our trusted friends or family members, but even more important, reminding them that it's okay, that sometimes it's beyond what we're able to handle ourselves and that we do need to get medical attention, right? To seeking a provider to help us deal and cope with these situations, because we know that it's been something that none of us have ever experienced.
Yeah.
Trying to destigmatize the need to seek mental health resources was really key. So that was something that we really tried to get the message across to the community during that time. Because we know that if you're not dealing with stress, stress can cause an increase in blood pressure. So if you are already suffering from high blood pressure, right, that just kind of adds insult to injury. Certainly, it causes people to have irregular sleeping patterns, which can cause also irritable behavior. Lost my train of thought.
Okay.
You to become a little irritable, and also increasing your risk for negative behaviors like drinking and alcohol, smoking, which we know that a lot of people kind of leaned on during that time.
And then eating too. People probably did a lot more eating during that time. I think during this time we're talking about stress, and you were talking about the changes in the body. So this is a very yesterday actually was a very big day. It was thyroid day, and so it was Jotyme. So we have a Jotyme health tip. It was World Thyroid Day that was recognized globally yesterday.
Okay, with that being said, a lot of times I used to tell a lot of guys in the firehouse, because I work out all the time. I eat right and I try to, stay as fit as possible. So a lot of times when we go to a stressful situation like fighting a fire for 2 or 3 hours, we get back to the firehouse. The first thing we do is raid the refrigerator, drink it, and the next day we pay for it. So like right now, what we just want to inform, everybody about the thyroid. Yesterday, like Joetta said, was World Thyroid Recognition Day globally. So the thyroid gland, it produces hormones that regulate the body's metabolic rate, controlling the heart. And that muscle is one of the most important muscles that has to be always like pumping and cleaned out and working. And then when it comes to the muscle and the digestive function, everything that's around your core, once the heart is, under stress, everything else is going to be under stress. Because I had COVID back in December. So because I'm an athlete, ex-athlete, ex-firefighter, all of these things, the first thing that COVID did was affected my heart. It elevated my heart rate. So right now, in the brain function and the bone maintenance, that right there is a part of the thyroid gland too. So it is important that the T3 and the T4 levels are neither too high nor too low. Two glands in the brain, Joe, read that, hypothalamus,
pituitary communications to maintain proper T3 and T4 balance.
Yes.
So basically, we just wanted to give you that little tip on the thyroid day, which was yesterday, and the importance of having thyroids. And then these are some housekeeping tips of the body: thinking, concentration, brain function, digestive, as Tyrone mentioned, health function, and muscle function. So we wanted just to throw that in because Yvette, when you did mention about other functions of the body being affected by stress, the thyroid is something that we need to take care of as well.
And you can get a test. You can actually go get a thyroid blood test, ultrasound. Right. Okay, so just look up that, go online, Google it, ask your healthcare provider, about the thyroid. Like Joetta just said, that's the housekeeping of the body.
Yeah, thank you actually for mentioning that, because that actually provides a segue for me to mention that it's really important for us as adults to have that regular visit with our healthcare provider. I know that during the pandemic, many people missed their wellness visit. So, like Tyrone said, there is a test, and based on the conversation with your doctor, he will recommend and have you recommend you get tested if need be. So.
And then too, when you're talking about stress, I think for me during the pandemic, I was able to do some journaling and writing, and I found that to be very calming and helped me get through things. I went through a 28-day introspection, really analyzing myself health-wise, myself situationally wise, and just trying to make sure that I would be better. And I had time to do that. And so the pandemic, and for me, allowed me to work more on myself and understand what I needed to do to get better health-wise as a person. And then also allowed me to kind of get myself together as to moving forward, what I would accept and what I would not accept. And in doing that, I felt relieved. Like Miles said, when he's better to help his family. Yes. So for me, by me realizing things and working through things, I realized that I would be better for my family as well. But start with yourself. And again, a lot of people that we know had COVID. Some were not able to be here with us because they transitioned. But those who are here, it's still not over, and there's still a lot of stresses that we're going to go through. But I just want everyone to know that you find something to do, find something new. Because if it's cooking, if it's walking, if it's drawing, if it's just talking on the phone with your friends, whatever it is, find something that kind of helps you decompress. And with my personality, AAA personality, it took a while for me to decompress. But once I got to like day 15, I really saw everything that I was working on coming together. And then the other like 14 days or so was a piece of cake. So speaking of cake, we don't have any cake, but we do have some questions for you, Iris. I'm sorry, I called you Iris, Yvette.
Okay.
I'm looking at Iris on the screen here. So Yvette, so we have some questions for you as well. And then remember, if you have a question for Yvette about stress, please make sure you raise your hand and type your question in the chat.
Okay, you went through the first question about stress. And the second one that we have for you is, how were members able to get the care during the pandemic while everyone was shut down?
Yeah, so I want to add a little bit to Joetta's point about dealing with stress also, because she gave some great examples. And I want to remind people that, dealing with stress is going to be different for all of us. I can admit that I actually love doing laundry. So
Okay. Wow.
something I do to de-stress. And so, like you said, Joetta, find what works for you. Whatever brings you joy, that's what's going to help you kind of get through it.
And I'm going to stop right there because you said something, and I don't want anyone to call you up with your contacts, ask you any laundry tips. So let's make sure when you call, even though she loves doing laundry, she loves more helping you and giving you tools to make you a better you.
Yeah, absolutely. But I wouldn't mind, actually.
A lot of times,
Tyrone, so while, while we were shutting down, right, the entire country, it's that those partnerships, like I mentioned earlier, to stay connected, because people were really fearful of leaving their home. So we wanted to make sure that our members and our community partners were aware of the different options. We try to encourage them to go to a urgent care instead of the hospital, because that was a challenge. And that, calling their providers, because their providers were able to connect with those members, even those who didn't have computers. They were able to either call them on a telephone, and in some cases, our community partners were able to utilize their computers first, people to meet with their doctors through telehealth. So there were various ways that Horizon was sharing that message with the community, encouraging them to continue to get their care, because what happens is, no one wanted to leave. People missed out on appointments, on screenings. And the truth is, cancer doesn't care that there's a pandemic, right? And so people were missing those key screenings. So we were trying to make sure that people were at ease about going out or connecting with their providers when they needed to.
And I think that's so very important. As you know, Horizon Blue Cross and Blue Shield of New Jersey focuses on mental health and Medicare and Medicaid. And it's so very important for people to understand that there's nothing wrong if you're not feeling right, if you need to speak to someone. And that, as you mentioned, is a stigma. So I think during this time, if we can have you do anything, that is to connect or reconnect with someone. Just because things are lifting now doesn't mean that your stress and your mental strains that you went through the last 18 months, it doesn't mean that just automatically disappears. So it's very important that you focus on that. And there are days when you're sad, days when you're happy. Tune into your emotions and get and seek professional help. Sometimes your friends can't be there to help you really through everything. So as much as we want to communicate and talk to our friends, they may be a good ear, but they're not someone who's going to provide you the necessary information that you need to make you feel better.
Yeah, and a lot of times when it comes to the elderly, especially Mom Clark that's in heaven right now, she used to love music. So a lot of times when she had not feeling good that day, or is going through something from a doctor's visit, a lot of times I would walk in the room and have my little speaker with me and put her favorite song on, and you see the smile coming out, and it just made her feel good. And for 2 hours sitting there talking to her, it would just bring her joy, because a lot of times our internal self gets so depressed and isolated, and it takes somebody or something to just bring out, that good feeling in you at times.
Yes, and that's so important. So, do we have any questions up there?
Anybody have a question?
So Tyrone, actually, that's a great thing that you mentioned, because, what happens a lot of times, especially, this past year, not only dealing with stress, but people fell into depression. You know, you can't snap out of it, right? People think you can snap out of it, but you can't always. So, you know, in some cases, yes, in a virtual sense, surrounding yourself with those people, staying connected, and even if it is through the computer or telephone, we all need to know that someone out there is thinking about us, but making sure that when our anxiety, our stress, depression, when that starts to interfere with our daily activities, that should be a key indicator for you that you need a little bit more support than calling your friends, and that it's okay to reach out to a mental health professional.
Now, have any of your coworkers at the time you guys were out there, you know, saving everybody and helping them out, did they go through similar situations?
You know, I think in most of us, in some way, shape, or form, face challenges because, you know, I think most of us have been touched by COVID in some way or another. I did lose a family member, but, you know, there were a lot of worries and concerns. And, you know, I can't imagine that many people escaped that.
No.
But luckily we do have a very strong support system in place. You know, our leadership recognized that these were challenges that we have never experienced before, and we were working through them, you know, as they came. So, you know, it was important that we stayed in touch and we communicated what we were going through. And I think our department did an excellent job at that.
Good, thank you.
I see Sheila up there. Do you have a question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm a registered nurse, and I wanted to sort of first thank you for the program that you have. It's definitely has been good for me and I guess the public all over. I just want to ask a question about caregiver and sort of providers fatigue. It's something like what Tyrone was talking about with your own families, having to take care of them and extend that to physical, mental health for the public. Do you have like employee assistance programs or some kind of like things that you do on a daily basis, like clearing or debriefing for your own workers? Because I know it's a heavy burden to carry for yourself as well.
Yeah, so we do have resources available at Horizon, you know, for employees, as well as, you know, they encourage us to take advantage of our own health benefits when it comes to that. As you know, that there are many different ways you can get mental health support. It could be through telemedicine, through phone, text, and sometimes in person. So, you know, our team, we are in constant communication. And so I feel that we had a very good, we have a very good working relationship in which we were aware of what someone else might have been going through. And so we tried to, you know, alert them, say, well, you know, maybe you should take a step back if needed. And again, even for us, you know, we try to remind each other that self-care is extremely important because we were and have been and continue to be there for others. But even more so, we need to take care of our own health because then you can't do those things that you want to do, which is care for your loved ones and family members.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a great question. Thank you for that page, that really good answer. I think so often we do take care of everybody else and we have to make sure that we're okay so we can take care of our family members and be there for them. So right now we have gone through 2 of our segments and we have our final segment, which was solutions. And Tyrone mentioned that we both have gotten our vaccine, but I think that there's a lot of information out there, but we want to give you some true information. So take a look at this and then you have some information that will help you navigate through the vaccine.
While some people who receive the vaccine may develop symptoms as their immune system responds, remember that this is common when receiving any vaccine and is not considered serious or life-threatening. You cannot get the COVID-19 infection from the COVID-19 vaccine, as the components of the vaccine are inactive, not live.
Yeah, that was really good. So if you don't mind right now, before we ask some other questions, do you mind just talking more about the vaccine and what you're telling your members when they do call you to ask if they should or should not get it?
The vaccine, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's important. One of the things that we encourage people to do is to get information from the right resources, a trusted, knowledgeable resource. And that includes your healthcare provider, right? I want people to understand that you are part of your healthcare team, right? Your doctors are there, physicians, healthcare providers, nurses, pharmacists, right? They provide you some great information, but ultimately you make the decision for what's best for you and your family. And so if you have questions and concerns that aren't being answered right now, because, trust me, I know that there is a lot of information out there that might be confusing. First and foremost, I encourage you to contact your provider, right? Contact your primary care provider and get those questions answered, right? Because we know that getting the vaccine is going to help us get back to a more normal way of living. And so it's important that we not just accept the experiences that other people are having as facts, right? We need to get the facts from people who are knowledgeable and know exactly how to steer you and advise you.
Right. Information is key. So we have some solutions here that we want to ask you to talk about. We have some questions in this area at this point.
Okay, one of the solution questions is about the children. And it's what are some solutions parents can work through to help their children cope?
Sure, absolutely. As I've mentioned before, that as parents, or as adults, right? And especially during the pandemic, we've been caregivers. We've been doing so much for everyone else that we have to remember to take care of ourselves. And oftentimes, not just the mom, I know the dads are as well, but they're the primary caregivers and are not able to, get those appointments with their providers. They're missing them. But we as parents want to serve as we're the foundation for what our children will follow. And what I'm trying to say is that parents need to model what behavior you want your children to have. You as an adult have to make sure that you're managing and coping in a positive way. And communicating with your child, say, I am struggling right now and I am, working out to try to relieve some of this stress. It's okay to say that, because then they will see that. And when they are dealing with a certain situation, they're going to know that there are positive ways to cope with the not knowing. Showing them that, it's okay to take time to address your own physical and mental well-being, modeling and communicating that behavior to them. And also, again, knowing when to seek help, right? It's okay that our children are aware that sometimes it's more than what we can handle, and we have to go to a medical professional to be able to learn how we can deal with the situation at hand.
And you said something that was very key. You said communicate with your children. So I always say, speak so your child will listen, but also listen so your child will speak. So I think that was really important to have the lines of communications open and be transparent as much as you can, depending on their age, so they understand what's going on and they're finding solutions along with you.
I have a nice little toy that I got a couple of years ago. And this is a hyper gun. It's actually a muscle. It relaxes your muscles. So when I got COVID in December, I lost 20 pounds. So when you have a lot of liquid that's going through your body and you're losing so much weight, the muscle mass is gone. And I just felt like, I couldn't get it back. But what was happening with me, my heart rate was going so fast, I had to control my breathing. So like you say, Yvette, I had to, blow into the ball and try to get it as high as I can to get my airflow going again. But with this thing right here, I would cut it on every day and just hit certain parts of my body to get the blood to flow through my system again. Because during COVID, a lot of what the doctors was trying to say is you can develop blood clots. So every single joint, here, knees, back, everything. I just wanted to loosen up the blood, so I could have a nice blood flow and just drink a lot of fluid. And it got me back to normal in like 30 days. So a lot of times I couldn't just go to the therapist at that time to get a massage or anything because it's COVID. You have a mask on, you're not allowed in the building, and I want a massage. So a lot of times I do my homework where, what can I do myself? And last week, I showed the different type of things, thermometer, to take your own temperature, the blood pressure on your arm, the oximeter that takes your oxygen levels. So a lot of times when we have those little things, it's going to bring the stress down because my stress level was up here. And when I started to use those things that I knew I can do, my stress level went down and it actually kept going down. And I had to relax because I was trying to become normal again after, fighting for my life. So a lot of times my solutions were, I would wrap myself up and go for a walk. I would put music on and just breathe and relax in the dark. So a lot of times I didn't need to go out looking for it. It was right there in my own little space.
And so during this time, we have some more questions for you, but during this time also is important when you find solutions. Now the solutions are a little bit different now because they're taking the mask down and they're opening up things. And I think that is important for people to be mindful and aware of the new situations, but also self-preservation. And I always say, follow one course until it's successful, and that stands for focus. So during this opening up stage, we all need to remember to be focused and to follow one course until we're successful. And we won't be successful until we don't have our mask on, until we are back at full capacity at events or in schools and things such as that.
Yeah, so I do want to mention, Tyrone, those are all great tools. I know that you shared that last week. And you're right, sometimes we have things right in our own home that we can use to manage our stress. And I encourage people, to look around, or do things that are, that you can do in your backyard. Like if you want to exercise, you don't necessarily have to go to the gym, right? Because we know that right now that could be an added expense for some people. Walking in your neighborhood, but utilizing those things that you have on hand, like a soup can or something to use as a weight, or a gallon of water. So absolutely.
And that's what we have something called Jotyme Fitness. And to speak to your point, we want you to be able to do these exercises at home for about 20 minutes. So at Jotyme Fitness, we meet you where you are. So if you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced, it doesn't really matter. But if you do these exercises, we believe in 6 to success. So it's jumping rope, it's core, it's hamstrings, abdominals, arms, and legs. So I think that when you mentioned about exercising and being able to do that at home, and some people are very private. So you can, walk outside, but you could do some of these things at home in your backyard or in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
You have something on the show. Here's a little red.
So this band helped me out a lot too, because like I said, a lot of times you can't get to the gym, and I was too weak to lift weights. I was just so weak. So a lot of times I would just do the band, simple things just to get my strength back up. I would use the band in different ways to just get my arms moving. I would put a towel on my forearms and I would just stretch my arm out different ways. And all of these little simple things just made me, realize, okay, in order for you to get back to you being normal and the person you want to be, you have to work. You got to put the work in. When it's hard for me to be a first responder and to save so many people, and then all of a sudden I'm sitting in a hospital bed and somebody's taking care of me. And the hardest thing for me was after 7 days for that physical therapist to come in and tell me to walk down the hallway. And I'm saying, I do this. I tell people to walk down the hallway. But for me to have to do it, is, man, I really have to show them that I could walk down the hallway. I could do a couple of jumping jacks. I can actually lift my legs up. And so once I got out of the hospital, I said, you know what? They let me know if I'm not going to be who I want to be, I'm going to be right back in there in a week. And I said, I don't want to go back there. It was December 23rd. I'm not going back. So all these little things that I had to do, to go online, Google it, and just take care of yourself.
And I think as you talk, do you have something you want to add to that? Or
I was just going to say, Tyrone mentioned, all these little things, and which is exactly right. We can get back to our normal self, but it takes baby steps. It's little steps, right, that we can do every day to get back to that point. They all add up. Just like when, as adults, we should be engaging in at least 60 minutes of physical activity every day. It doesn't have to be all at once. It could be 15 minutes, in the morning and 30 minutes during lunch and then later on in the day. So they all add up to be able to build your endurance and your strength to get you back to where you were before, Tyrone.
Thank you.
And I think sometimes too, if you were very active and then the pandemic allowed you to go next level, and if you weren't active, it also allowed you to go next level because you weren't going back to work. But now with things opening up, all the work that you did to take care of your health, take your vitamins, visit your doctors, not visit the doctors, keep your appointments via the computer. Sometimes, we're going to go back to the old ways. And I think that you made so many steps to move forward. Let's continue to move forward. And we say, by the inch is a cinch, by the yard is hard. So as you said, take baby steps and take those steps to keep you going forward to being a better you. And try not to go back to those old ways and those old habits, and then just keep trying to get better and better and better as the days go on. So we want to say this too at this point. We talk about stressing kids and finding solutions. We have a track and field camp that we've done for over 20 years. And right now, so many people want to send their kids to this camp. This camp, however, is in Pennsylvania in the Lehigh Valley area. I used to have it in New Jersey, but people were like, oh God, we want our kid to get out. We want them to be active. We want them to experience being around other kids again. So this camp is for anyone that wants to travel, but if you're specifically in the Lehigh Valley area, please come check out this camp. It's the 20th year of this camp, and we were excited to see all of our kids again, and then have our staff together to present this monumental event. 20 years of anything is something extraordinary. So we wanted to share that with you, and the website is there. You can take a screenshot of it, or you can just Google our names and the camp information will come up.
And Joetta's being a little modest right now because that 20-year camp has developed so many D1 superstars, All-American in high school, and right now this is an Olympic year. A couple of kids came out in the last Olympics from the camp. and did really well. So this year, we have a couple of more kids that started the camp 10, 15, 20 years ago. They already qualified for the Olympic Games.
Yes. And that one would be my daughter as well. She
Mhm.
qualified for. So that's another level
Yes.
of stress, trying not to put any of my accomplishments on her, let her find her own lane. But that's another topic for another time. But he did mention that. So again, if that's something that you want to do, even if it's not a camp, just don't send your kid out there. Get involved with them, do
Yes.
the walking with them, the bike riding with them, the stretching with them. Because as I said earlier, teamwork does make the dream work. And if you have a healthy family, that also is so important. So do we have any questions from anyone? Do we have any questions in the chat? Remember, you put your questions in the chat. And if you do that, we will ask Yvette the questions. Yvette, did you want to say something else before?
Yeah, I do. Because I just want to make sure that people are aware, I know that we're kind of coming out of this, there's the guidelines for mask wearing is changing. But I know that you touched on it earlier that, even if you're vaccinated, wear your mask, social distance, but most importantly, please, if you haven't done so already, schedule your annual wellness visit with your provider. Because so many people have missed those screenings that I mentioned earlier, that I mentioned before, mammograms to check for breast cancer, colorectal cancer screenings. Colorectal cancer is one of the most preventable cancers. And we know that colonoscopy is the gold standard to be screened for colon cancer, as well as prostate cancer screenings, right? But it's not only important for adults. Remember, our kids have been going through this as well, and many of them have missed their visits, their child wellness visits, and many of them need to catch up on those missed vaccines. Making sure that you're talking to your pediatrician about their developmental milestones, and even lead exposure screenings. All of those are priorities. But, I don't expect you all to be able to do everything at once, right? Just like we said, baby steps, a little bit at a time. But this way that when we are able to go out, whether with masks or without masks, but you want to be able to enjoy yourself as healthy as you can be. And these are the steps to take to get in that direction.
Thank you.
Well, this segment has come to an end, and actually this series, it was called The Pressures of the Pandemic, and Horizon Blue Cross and Blue Shield of New Jersey was the sponsor of these 4 series. So we would like to thank you for taking time to think about the community always, and to be part of this Be Extraordinary podcast, because this information is relevant last week, today, and in the future. So as you said, you're here today and always. And so this information is really relevant. So I thank you for having the vision and foresight to be on our Be Extraordinary podcast, and to give everyone such a wealth of information. And you gave them ways to contact you, so they know how to contact you, and always, be it your website, your Facebook, social media, and personally contact you. And she was so nice and kind to say she'll reach you. You can talk to her about laundry. So she has some laundry to give to you, Tyrone.
I just want to say thank you so much, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield, for saving me a lot of years. And people that want to go out there to get insurance, that's one of the best insurance policies I've had, at 23 years old. Now I'm 56. That's a long time. But, a lot of people are fearful for guys in their 50s, fearful for going to the doctor for anything. And I try to make them go because I let them know that it's going to catch up with you. Would you want to go later when you can't get out the bed, or do you want to go while you can walk in the hospital?
Right, and prevent it, right?
Yeah. Go now.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So speaking about going now, again, we just want to thank you. And as I always say, it doesn't matter what road you take, but what you become along the journey. So thank you, Horizon, and all of you for taking this journey along with us. Even though this is the fourth series of this session, we do have more coming on. So next week, we have a sponsor called Shuri, Goldberg, and Henry, and they are a bonding, insurance, and financial company. And with the Olympic trials that Tyrone spoke about coming up in June, they want to do Olympians. And we're going to call Passing the Baton is the name of that series. So this is the baton from Sydney 2000, which was my last Olympic team that I made with my family. So we're passing the baton, and our guest next week will be a phenomenal, amazing athlete, 3-time Olympian, world champion, world record holder, and he has a business called Prime Time Scouting. So we look forward to having all of you next week. It will still be 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and we'll still be in studio. And we'd love to have you all back and more for the following future sessions that we have coming up. So we're at the point where we have to say so long. Yvette, thank you for your knowledge. Thank you for your patience and your information. And thank you for being part of the Horizon team, because as you always say, you're here when we need you most. So we thank you on behalf of everyone. And we continue to wish you success and healthiness as we get back to what we call normal. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Joetta. Thank you, Tyrone.
You're welcome.
Sure. Thank you.
And we see everybody next week. Here's the slide for our next session, which will be Passing the Baton with Mark Everett. Have a good evening.